Frau Steiner wants me to know that there's a situation with the neighbors. She confides this in me as she's driving me from the train station to her house, where I will be living for the next 6 weeks. In the summer of 1999, I was in grad school, and I was hired to teach a group of American high school students who would be living in Germany for 6 weeks. And the students were placed with host families, and as one of the 4 teachers, I was also given a host family. My hosts were the Steiners, a childless couple in their 60s. When we are a block away from her house, Frau Steiner stops to write down the license plate number of a car parked on the street. She's noticed that car parked there before, she says. When we get to her house, she explains a little bit more about the neighbors. You see, they are out to get her. They want to make her crazy. When she suggests that the Americans who live in the house behind her are with the CIA, I laugh, thinking it's a joke. It is not a joke. Indeed, Frau Steiner is as serious as a restraining order. There are security cameras all over the house at every door and window. The windows are all bolted shut. There are 5 locks on the front door, which have all been switched out twice in the past year, because of course, the neighbors bribed the locksmiths. But despite all these precautions, just to be absolutely safe, the Steiners never leave the house unoccupied. She and her husband have not left the house together in over a year. She's very excited that I'm there now because they can go to the theater while I stay home and guard the house. You see, they're having problems with the neighbors. They break into the house, scratch up the furniture, and plant bugs. They've even poisoned the Steiner's 15-year-old dog, which is what causes his incontinence. At the end of my first day with the Steiners, I retire to my room, and I go to turn on the lights, but they won't turn on. Frau Steiner explains that they've had to reroute power from my room to the security cameras. So she goes to this fuse box and flips a switch so I can have power in my room. It's no problem, she says. I just have to ask anytime I want electricity. On day 2, I meet Frau Roga, the host family coordinator, for the first time. Before I can even utter a word, she says to me, "I am so sorry." When I accepted her as a host mother, I had no idea how bad it was. She doesn't have to tell me what it is. We both know what she's talking about. She offers to find me a new host family. But despite all the evidence so far, I still feel like Frau Steiner is harmless, and I'll give it a chance. As soon as I get home that day, Frau Steiner asked me if she can take my blood pressure. She's just curious what my blood pressure might be, she says, holding up a blood pressure cuff. I beg off and hold myself up in my room and consider that I have made a mistake. I need to get out of this absurd fortress. On day 3, Wednesday, I meet up with the other teachers. And I tell them the many stories that I've already gathered of living with Frau Steiner. They laugh and sympathize. Frau Roga and I meet to plan my escape. She doesn't have another host family for me yet, so I have to just wait it out with the Steiners until she can find me a new home. That night at dinner, Frau Steiner interrogates me. "Did you talk to Frau Roga today? What did you tell her? Did she ask if you like it here? Do you like living here?" I tell her everything is fine, but I'm not very good at lying, which I'm sure just fuels her paranoia. If she only knew that we were plotting behind her back. On day 4, Thursday, it's a very long day. We administer a pretest to the students, and we spend all afternoon grading them. So I don't get back to the Steiners until dinner time. I can tell something is wrong as soon as I sit down to dinner. Frau Steiner greets me coldly, "Hi, Tim," and walks out of the room. Her husband says, "The missus is angry." I'm confused for a few seconds, and then it hits me. Oh God, she knows. She knows that I want out. Frau Steiner confirms my fears when she bursts into the room and says she talked to Frau Roca today, and they're taking me to a new family on Saturday, and this is the worst insult she's ever had to endure, and how could I have said all those things about her that I know are not true, and I've ruined her reputation, and they'll never let her host another student again, and I did it all on purpose. And then she cries. I would find out later that earlier in the day, Frau Steiner called Frau Roga to complain about me. And Frau Roga lost her patience and let her have it. Now, the image of two middle-aged German ladies yelling at each other on the phone over me was surreal. But the fact that one of them was defending me was comforting. So, the next 5 hours are among the most uncomfortable of my life. The next day is my first day of teaching. I have to prepare lesson plans. But it is hard to concentrate with Frau Steiner storming through the house yelling about how awful I am. Occasionally she comes to my door to yell at me directly. It's clear that I'm not going to get any sleep in this house tonight. So I call Frau Roga and leave 2 frantic messages on her answering machine. And eventually I finish my lesson plans. I pack up all of my stuff and I wait for Frau Roga's call. There is nowhere for me to go, especially with 2 months' worth of luggage. So I am stuck in this house with this ranting German psycho. There is one bright spot, however. Over the past 5 years, I have put forth a lot of effort to learn the German language. And it occurs to me, as Frau Steiner yells at me in rapid-fire German, that I understand every single word about what a lying, ungrateful, wretched best I am. Being yelled at by an angry German for 5 hours is the ultimate language comprehension test. And I passed. Finally, at 11 p.m., Frau Roga calls. Frau Steiner yells at her for 10 minutes while I beg her to give me the phone. As soon as I get the phone in my hand, I say, "Can you pick me up right now?" She says, "I'll be there in 15 minutes. I take all of my luggage and I pile it in front of the heavily fortified front door, and I wait for my deliverance. Frau Roga arrives, and there is more yelling as she extracts me from the house. Her parting words to Frau Steiner are, "You're sick. You're sick and you need help. Sie sind krank und Sie brauchen Hilfe." As we schlep my luggage out to her car, Frau Roga puts her arm around my shoulder and gives me a reassuring squeeze. And I know that everything is going to be all right. The neighbors can't get me anymore.